Alex, you and I have both been in the military. We are both veterans in this case. We're both startup founders, and your story is a unique one. I would love if you could frame your story for a little bit for us.
The idea for Clearspeed started, Joy, as you know, but the battlefields of Iraq, so combat deployments overseas, working with host nation partners, inability to understand who to trust with enough accuracy and timeliness. And so really the framing of the Clearspeed story started with who can we trust faster to go on missions to win? And that was where we looked at the problem and said, we're currently trying to solve that problem using counterintelligence folks and lie detectors, which are very important, and they have an important role in the risk management ecosystem. But it wasn't the first order triage, the speed, the lightweight ability to clear people quickly, and that's where Clearspeed was born. We came together around that problem and kind of looked at this as a triage and resource allocation problem first, who to get to trust faster first, and then who to allow those counterintelligence folks to sift through secondarily. And this was, kind of a discovery that came through the hard loss of our friends and comrades we fought alongside, unfortunately.
One, thank you for doing what you did, right? And thanks for making sure that sacrifice doesn't have to happen again. That's how we keep getting better as a nation, right? We have to improve on how we execute and make sure that the warfighter has the best tech. That story for you really did start with, hey, we want to work first and being able to help the Department of Defense and help the warfighter. How did you make that decision on how do you build a company? Did you sell commercial first? Did you make the first sale to the government?
We started off going right after the heart of it. So, through the special operations folks, through their innovation pipeline with SoftWorks, out to the field to take what was an early product and then develop and refine that and then go through a validation exercise with them, leveraging the SoftWorks vehicle. So it was very deliberate that we started out there first to kind of bring it to the place where we knew it would have the most immediate impact. And then we cast our eyes up and said, where else could a tool like this work? And that's where we had the idea to kind of start in the insurance industry for kind of going beyond fraud detection, the same way we're going beyond lie detection. So how do you go beyond fraud detection in the consumer, for the enterprise space and ultimately a consumer space? And in parallel, how do we drive, a product forward that can serve everything from recruiting to force protection, and how do we produce a tool that helps with digital due diligence for supply chain risk and so on. But from the foundation of being out there in Afghanistan, we were able to get the confidence that we had something that really would add value to the warfighter on the edge, doing the hard things every single day. And then understanding that road is very hard one to walk from a business, a startup perspective, knowing we needed some enterprise products to be able to sell in parallel. And that's the dual use strategy that we adopted. Kind of prove it in the hardest of hard places for the most discerning customers first, and then productize that engine for the enterprise.
That's been a fantastic journey for you. And I know you guys are doing a lot of work in the insurance space today. Could you tell me a little bit more about that as well?
Sure. The insurance space, ironically, has the same problems that we face in the government space, whether it's recruiting or insider threat or dealing with third parties. And that problem is there's only so many fraud experts, so many claims handlers, and there's just an incredible amount of volume of people with claims coming in, inundating a process and a system. And so the hardest thing the insurance enterprise has to deal with is fast tracking good claims quickly, paying their clients and customers, keeping them satisfied, coming through on their remit to deliver the money that they need to help those people get back on their feet or get their car repaired, et cetera. But at the same time, filtering where fraud may be taking place, filtering that out in a way that's gentle and constructive, and then offering them to those people that cost money. They're experts at their trade and their craft, and they need to be doing the harder work on the harder cases. And so that's the triage function that we built into how the insurance folks looked at this, and it kind of unlocked an incredible amount of value for them because they have incredible fraud engines, they have incredible claims teams and fraud teams, but they're just inundated by so much data flowing through their systems on a daily basis that somehow that degrades their ability to do their work in an optimized fashion, also degrades the customer experience to no fault of their own. They're dealing with a lot of inputs. And so there's this idea of achieving kind of a 2020 vision, which is looking forward to help the customer go better and faster, and then looking really in the immediate near-term sense against fraud, which degrades the impact that impacts the entire experience for the life cycle of any claim holder. And so that's what we've been doing in the insurance world. That's just been kind of having this great cascading effect throughout the market.
You've dove into building this wonderful company. You've created a truly dual use enterprise that's helping across both the civilian world and in the Department of Defense. What's your vision? What do you want to do next, man? What do you want to accomplish here?
The vision for Clearspeed is really to be a part of an ecosystem which is forming around an incredible array of sensors that help deter threats before they become a threat. And so the vision here, you could talk about our ability to be a risk assessment tool that has ubiquity across use cases. What we really like to talk about is creating a trust platform. So we use voice analytics to deploy automated questionnaires that allow our people to make decisions with higher confidence, save money, optimize resources. And so the vision is to be able to achieve this throughout not only the DoD for numerous use cases, but also rest of government. There's so many agencies that have so many great people doing so much hard work on a daily basis that we feel Clearspeed could really unlock their value. We talk about human-machine teaming often in the work we do together, Joey. So this is really about teaming our machine, our voice-based platform with humans to accelerate trust.
And trust has been a theme throughout all of today's conversation. What led for this being a central theme for you in your life?
I think starting at, back in the experiences in Iraq, the idea of getting to trust faster as opposed to who not to trust faster. So that was the central theme for me, was thematic to what we were doing. It was who can we trust today to have impact on this mission? And I think starting with trust first really builds bridges as opposed to putting up walls. And I really think we need bridges now more than ever. So if you can have AI enabled, risk assessment to get to trust faster, that's where what I wish I had 15, 20 years ago in the field. And now that moment's here. And so we need to kind of supercharge and superpower these humans that are doing incredible work, but just need that tool to really give them exponential benefit across their caseloads.
Trust is the currency of every relationship. It's the currency of how everything actually works in the world. And if you can trust the other person to deliver, you can trust that, hey, something is going to get done here. And that creates the foundation for goodness to happen as well.
For sure. Absolutely.
You guys won a TACFI. What were the top 3 things you were looking for when you were going after this TACFI?
So we were recently awarded a TACFI. We're super excited about that. When we were looking at it, the first is probably what many people see, which is we think we can add value, but can we? The second is, if we can, how do we apply for it? How does it work? And 3 is, once we get it, how do we kind of plug in and have our eyes cast towards a transitory step? So going beyond the build and the whatever the engineering steps are needed to make the enhancements possible for the end user to get the benefits that we promised, how do then we transition that forward? And so for us, TACFI started off as a kind of a daunting task. Can we do it? And that's why the partnership with Outpost was so critical, because we're able to come into an ecosystem which has an incredible knowledge base, experiential base. They're able to coach us through the marriage of end user need to enhancements that we should make. And there's a communication strategy that happens with talking to the customers and the end users and the technical points of contact, and being able to envision something that doesn't exist today. So there's a lot of imagination needed, and the Outpost helps with that. Once we have that kind of marriage of expectations and alignments, there's what is the thing needed to get the award, to be successful. You don't know who's looking at this and who's making the decisions. So there's kind of a curtain, and that curtain is there for a reason. But if you can help translate what might be behind the curtain to a way in which you can really extract the value of the novel, new thing that you're going to be producing, there's incredible value in that. And I don't think that's possible without, help from the Outpost to bring in those learnings. And then finally, you get it and it's great, but you don't want to build something that just becomes something that goes on the shelf as a science project that made you feel good about, building the thing on time, but really about creating something that people lash onto and say, this is something I can't live without. This is something I need. How do we transition this, into a phase 3? How do we ultimately get on path to a program of record? Because that's fundamentally the challenge with a Clearspeed and many like us, is you have something that's working so well in the enterprise world. There is no, requirement for that thing because it doesn't exist, of course. And that's what's so incredible about what AppWorks has done. And I think it's so important to team with Outpost to be able to maximize the opportunity to bring the end user what they need.
It's been a phenomenal partnership where we get to truly help the end user meet the needs that they have, right? As you say, get to that trust faster. We can deliver a capability that they haven't seen before, reduce the risk that exists, so that's where they can get after mission sets that might not have been possible. Building those bridges there is super important.